Yo, welcome everybody to Mikey-Ice TV. I have a special guest that I have admired since the early 90s. You know, one of the b-boy pioneers that I grew up watching, and he took power moves to the next level, you know, and he's a huge inspiration to everybody around the world. His name is Storm from the infamous Battle Squad crew. We're about to go live and have a conversation and talk about the history to Battle Squad and breaking. I hope that you guys enjoy. So, oh, the professor.
Mikey, great to see you.
Yeah, there we go, brother. It's crazy
Nice
though.
we got that. Yeah, I just heard your introduction. It was nice. I wanted to, like I had to press that button and that interrupted it. I wanted to listen to it to the end, you know?
Okay. So basically what I was saying, that telling everybody this is Storm, the legendary innovator of power moves to me, because on West Coast we've seen Air Force and we've seen Renegades. But when I would see you break, like the head spin combination was so long that I thought it was a trick. I was like, there is no way that he can stay up that long. And then 1990 out of it, and then go into baby mills, and then coin drop back up to your feet. I was like, bro, ain't nobody doing this kind of power in the United States.
Wow. Yeah,
You know?
brings back memories, but I didn't innovate those, you know that.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. I mean, well, maybe there wasn't anybody at that time who did them as long as me. There was Ibrahim, there was Emilio, there were a couple of guys, like we were always like, I was always looking for a challenge, and we were all into that, so we loved these long combinations, and yeah, it was nice, it was fun, but I wouldn't say that I innovated those. And it's it's not even much innovation. It's like, if you have the stamina, if you have the technique, you combine,
That makes sense. So Storm, can we go to your beginnings though, brother? Like, when was you first introduced to hip hop, and how did you get the name Storm?
Oof, okay. Wow, I've been telling this story over and over, and I have to be careful to, you know how sometimes, like when you become a storyteller, how your stories tend to become better and better, but they get away from the truth.
Yeah.
I hope it's not going to happen. No, listen, so easily, and I try to cut it short. First of all, I started dancing at a very young age already, as long as I can remember. Like, I think that when I started walking also, like I also started dancing a little bit, and then I just grew into that. Always listened to music, always tried to pretend I was like a rock star, singing in microphones, using tennis rackets to play guitars and stuff like that, to mimic. And of course, like also mime those dance steps that I've seen from back in the days, from all kinds of singers, even from Temptations and stuff. Anyway, so Saturday Night Fever, my sister introduces me to a dance that she called a rerun, which was interesting. And then my mother started to dance cha-cha with me in the kitchen when I was supposed to do my homework.
Wow.
And then I would say, like I already had a serious work ethos ethic when I started roller skating. So I was roller skating back in the days of Eric Heiden. I don't know if you remember the Olympic Winter Games.
Yeah.
Eric Heiden won the, like the ice skating. And then when it became spring, I remember, disco rollers came out, and it was said that he broke the world record on roller skates as well. Stuff like that. I just remember that it was that year. Can't even say what year that was. Somebody else is going to Google that. So it was that year when I really got seriously into skating. And my mom, she was a gymnast, but she was also into roller skating in her youth. And she always wanted me to learn roller skate, but I wasn't really interested. So at first I just started with roller hockey and all these kind of things and fast skating. But then I, like when when the guys always brought along, like they brought along a radio, and we were dancing to that radio, and I wanted to learn dance steps on my skates. So that's when I really realized I needed to learn. I needed to learn. I needed to train, you know. Before it was just playing around. Anyway, so that was my first dance steps where it took me a long while because I realized the complexity of it. So after that, it was skateboarding. And then I was always watching some skateboarders that were like 3, 4 years older than me. So let's say I was like 11, 12. And if they were 4 years older, they were mid-puberty. They were already looking at girls. They were smoking cigarettes and drinking beers, you know, and they were not interested in me or anything. So they were just skating over there. And a friend of mine, you know, like from school, we were skating over here. We had the cheap boards. They had the good boards. Didn't matter. You know, we were doing our thing. But I remember clearly how a friend of mine who later on also became part of my breaking crew, he was doing a pirouette on his skateboard. And then he like, I don't know, he fell. He fell, skateboard, lost the skateboard. You know, back in the days, if you dropped on the ground, that was poison. It was as bad as a power mover sliding his feet on flares. You know what I mean? You know, if the skateboarder lost his board, it was as bad. So lost his board, but then he did a backslide. You know, he did a backslide after his board, and I was like, wow, look at that. He's skating without skates. You know, so for me, it was a magic trick. It was some illusion. It was a magic trick. I didn't get how he did it, you know, but he got back on his board and he kept on skating like as if nothing happened. And another guy, he did like a handstand kickflip. You know, he was in handstand on a skateboard, and he tried a handstand kickflip, and he dropped on the ground. He fell, and he ended up doing a backspin. Came up, got back on the board, and I was like, wow, that's a nice way on how to camouflage that you actually crashed. That's a nice way on how you camouflage that you messed up. So those were the first moves that I've seen. Also caterpillars, you know, every now and then they were throwing in like a freaking hand wave or stuff like that.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that was,
yeah.
you know, so for me, you know, in the beginning, I would combine it with skating until I can't really remember when exactly, but I think I saw Buffalo Girls on television, Malcolm McLaren Buffalo Girls, and that's when I
Yeah.
kind of like realized, oh, wait a second, no, it doesn't have anything to do with skating. It's a dance. It's a dance,
Oh.
you know, and that was the moment when I, you know, also, I don't know, I just, you know, like I dropped that board. I was still skating, but I didn't take it serious anymore. And from that moment on, I really wanted to learn how to do this dance. But it wasn't just breaking. It was popping. It was dancing in general. Dancing got me. And what it was with popping and breaking, my main approach was, man, I always wanted to be a superhero.
Oh,
I
nice.
always wanted to be a superhero. When I was younger, I was dreaming of being, you know, like becoming a superhero. Just, you know, like ripping my shirt open, having that S on my chest, and just fly home or something, or being
Oh,
Batman. And
really?
yeah, yeah, you know these childhood thingies, you know, like where you just fantasize. And when I saw breaking and popping, I realized it's possible. I was like, all right,
Hmm.
it's gonna get me closer to my dream, you know, to become the $6 million man or the
Oh, I used to
Terminator, or
love that show.
you know.
That show was the best because the $6 million man, when he would grab you, it would go.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We used to make that sound too. I think that sound is still very important for all the poppers and stuff. You know how they like how they come up with sounds when
Oh,
they
yeah,
dance, and they go, you know, and they do that sound when they wave and when they animate and stuff.
yeah, that is so true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That was amazing storm. So what year was that?
1983.
Oh, 1983.
Yeah.
So in 1983, you were, how old were you? Like
I was
14, 13?
I was I was 14.
Oh, you was
Yeah,
14? Oh,
I
okay.
was
So by that time,
14.
did B Street already come out to
No,
Germany?
no, that was a year later.
Oh, that was a year later.
Mhm.
And what did you think when you first saw B Street?
Yeah, you want the honest story, right? So
Hmm.
listen. So I did not watch Beat Street in the movies. I didn't watch it in the movies. I watched it first on VHS. Um, it must have been like a ripped version, you know. I went to a friend of mine's house and I stayed there overnight, I remember, and we were practicing. And that fool, he made me so upset because that fool, like an hour or 2 hours before I left, he was telling me, "Hey, I still have a surprise for you." And I was like, "What could it be?" He's like, "Yeah,
Hmm.
I bet you still want to stay a little bit longer." I was like, "Well, why?" He's like, "Yo, you know what's on this VHS?" You know, he was the only friend I had who had a VHS player, and you know, so I was like, "Well, what's on it?" You know, I thought he was going to come up with Rambo or with some
Oh,
other
Rambo.
movie that was hip in those days. So he was like, "I got Beat Street on there," and I wanted to beat him up. I was so upset just because, man, I stayed overnight. He kept that film there. He had that VHS there for my entire stay there. And then he said,
Hmm.
"Well, I've got the surprise for you here. Do you still want to watch that movie?" I was like, "Are you mad?" You know, I was so upset. So I remember he put the tape in. I watched the movie and yeah, I was, I just stared at that television and I didn't see anything
Wow.
else anymore from the beginning to
Really?
the end. You know, just from the beginning of the movie already. You know, from
I
like
thought Lee was everything, Storm. When I first seen Lee on the movie screen,
yeah,
when he was like, he did the backspin,
yeah,
he goes, "All right, fresh." And he's so, "Kenny, so where you going?" He's all, "Don't worry about it, little brother."
yeah. No, hey, honestly, the attitude, everything, like the whole thing, from everything in the movie, I just sucked it up completely. But of course, I didn't watch it just once while I was at his house. I
Oh
stayed
yeah.
longer. I don't remember what time I got home. But right after I went to all the most important scenes in the movie, of course, I watched the battle a couple of times. But I remember the first thing, because I didn't know how much longer I could stay, it was, that I also, since the Roxy scene at the end, when they all perform in the Roxy, with Melly Mel and everybody and Believe It and all that, was that Bernard Fowler or whatever? What was his
Tickety,
name on stage?
tickety, tickety,
You
tickety,
know what I mean?
tickety.
Yeah, I was always like, ticket. He said ticket too. I thought they were saying, make a move, make a move, make a move. I don't know what they were saying. Anyway, with Icy Ice on that stage, I remember Fable doing that
Oh,
crazy twisto flex. I remember I studied that twisto flex that night. I
really?
studied that twisto flex. I looked at Icy Ice a million times. I did not understand what he
Wow.
was doing. I was like, what the hell is this? Never seen this before, if you know what I mean. He did a
Right.
halo. And then I remember I just rewound to the Roxy scene where they were battling, of course. And I watched
Hmm.
that a few times, and then I had to go. But I was still upset with my friend. I wanted to steal the tape from him actually.
Do
Yeah,
the
but I
tape.
was even on my way home, I was thinking like, man, who does that? Who does that? He knew, like he knew how important that would have been for me. I'm staying there this entire weekend. We're practicing every day, all day. And then at the end, like 2 hours before I leave, he's coming up with that tape,
Oh, I
you
see.
know? So I was super upset and I won't forget. I won't forget. Yeah, but I'm still happy, of course. I was still absolutely grateful that he made me see the movie before it was coming out in the movie theaters.
So who did you think won that battle, honestly?
Seriously? I think that's out of the question, isn't it? For me, that's
Because
out of the
crazy,
question.
because Crazy Legs is gonna say something different all the time.
Hmm. No, I think that New York City Breakers won that battle, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
I talked to Kid Nice. He told me.
yeah. But I also, like I think it depends what perspective, from what perspective you're looking at, right? I'm looking at it from a perspective, and this is very important, of what I thought way back in the days in 84 and also in 85, 86, and those years to come, where the dance was going in a completely different direction. You might
Mm.
you could say that the direction that it has taken was also leading to the fall, but we all know that when you look at the development of the windmill, right? Just you look at the development of the windmill and how important the windmill was for braking in those days. And then
Mm-hmm.
you even see that even Rocksteady crew was following that paradigm. Because like if you watch shows from Rocksteady, or even if you look at the Beat Street Battle, you see that most people went out and they did a windmill at that time. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was considered one of the major moves, honestly. Everybody wanted to know how to do a windmill in
Oh
those
yeah, the
days.
women was everything.
So looking at it from, from that perspective, and how important the windmill was, and also how important the windmill was as in a transitional move, going a bit away from all the footwork stuff, getting into more spinning and into more of what people were calling power move. Then you
Okay.
could see that the windmill was the first move that if you combined, and see, here's me again as a power mover that combined all that stuff. So you understand where I'm coming from. So I was one of the first guys out here also that started to combine moves where you didn't have to touch your feet with your feet on the ground no more. So now, and
Okay.
if you look at power movers, like typical power movers, for every power mover, it's a nightmare. And as what I also said earlier, for every power mover, it's a nightmare if your feet are scraping the ground. Notice, please, that from air flares to 1990s, to head spins, to halos, to windmills, to even belly windmills, right? Your feet are not touching the ground, right?
Okay.
And that's why a lot of people say swipes are not a power move, because they're touching the ground. So for me, swipes is a move that goes between. It goes with power moves and it goes with footwork, right? But it's an in-betweener. It's like you could say like, could be a nice transitional move or whatever. But this is where mine split, and where they go, okay, it's not a power move, it's not footwork, it's somewhere in between. But with the invention of windmill, with the innovation of windmill, you can see that the dance was definitely going into another direction. And
Mm-hmm.
when it came to latest development of whatever was becoming hip in those days, then New York City Breakers, they were ahead of the time.
Okay.
You can see,
I'm agree with that.
like you look at Glide Master. He went from his hand glide into a backspin, and backspin into head spin. This is the first time I've seen that in the days. Just as an example, and they were, like, okay, so New York City Breakers in Beat Street, Ice was not part of them yet. But you also see, like when you look at Ice in them days, doing halos and stuff, there was, or Noel doing his head glide and so on and on, like, so yeah, Rocksteady, they had their flavor, definitely, lots of flavor. But New York City Breakers, they had that flavor too. When PAX was coming out, come on, man. That first solo, I will never forget,
Oh yeah, I didn't
it was
understand
not
why
of this planet. It was not of this planet.
I think the way that he just came out and how he walked around the circle and then his top rock. Like when I seen that top rock, I started practicing. And I said, you know what? My name is Little Up Rock. I instantly called myself Little Up Rock because of Powerful Texture.
To me, that solo really became a blueprint for a formula that when you look at it from the narrative, right, the way he's, if you break it down, if you look at it, the way he walks into the circle shows like, look, I'm here. It's his introduction, that's like his
Mm-hmm.
intro. How dope. Then, like his top rock, the way he stood there in his pose, and then drops down into the windmills. He drops down, and the way he goes into his windmills, and then that freeze on his knee at the end, the way he stops, he comes up and he walks out. How much more of a superhero can you be,
That was it though, like, and when you see this the screen as a kid,
Oh,
it's
man.
like it's so shocking because it's so powerful because the characters are bigger. You know, the characters are bigger. You're eating popcorn. You're in the moment. Like, it's first time seeing it. Like, you would never see this again. So the first impression was crazy.
Yeah.
For me, as a kid, though, like, I was going by everything. And when I seen Lee on the subway train with his nameplate built that said Lee, and he started doing the top rock, this could be the night.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
but
my
everybody, like also the whole Roxy scene, or even like before, like when they were at the Burning Spear, the way people were dancing and everything. It's like I said, I wasn't just interested in the breaking. I was checking out everybody, how they were moving and what, like all the moves that people were doing, even the jazz dancers in Roxy at the end of the film. Even though most of the time we were rather making fun of them, but still, there was quality to that, and it was appreciated. And in the whole mix, I would say, it was a dope movie. And man, it's like where we would have been nowhere without Beat Street, really. Mesmerized, and it changed my life forever, no doubt.
So after B Street, how did Battle Squad form?
Oh, but that was way later.
Okay.
That was way later. See, before Battle Squad, I had a crew we were called Unique Rockers. We were
Cool.
called Unique Rockers, and yeah, we were mainly doing, like there were no dance competitions really or anything like that. So we were mainly doing shows, and we were dancing on the street in the summers. So that's what we would do. We were a small group, and we were getting smaller and smaller. At the end, we were just 3 people, and that was a moment where, well, funny enough, I did a world record, like the windmill world record for the Guinness Book of Records, and that was when I met Swift Rock with his crew.
Oh.
And he had a crew. They were called Fantastic Devils, and we were battling each other at that night. We were battling, and I really thought that, like Swift Rock had dope footwork, really, really good footwork at that time already. And I didn't know what he was thinking about me, but fair enough, like briefly later, there was a hip hop jam in Swiftstown in Kiel. I went there. We got to know each other a little bit better. And then I invited him over for practice, so he came to my house. I picked him up on my motorbike. I invited him over to my house, and he got to meet my brother Speedy.
How older are you? Well, how young is Speedy?
Speedy is 4 years younger than me. He's born in '73. I'm born in '69.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So he met Speedy. We were practicing together, and there was this incident. I don't even know if I should talk about this, but there was this incident, right? So see, my brother, he learned a lot of things from me, but he also learned a lot of things from Swift. But at that particular day, when he came down, I remember, so we were practicing in my garage, and so Swift went down, and my brother, like Speedy, I won't say that he was naive, but he was very open, right? So he was telling Swift, he was like, wow, can you do that move again? That was dope. And then Swift was looking at him, he was like, which move? And Swift became a bit serious. And Speedy was like, yeah, that move that you just did there. He was like, are you serious? And Speedy was like, yeah. And then he was looking at me. And I was telling Swift, no, he's serious. He really wants to see that move. And he was like, well, all right. So Swift did it again. And Speedy was like, man, what were you thinking when you came up with that move? That is so dope. And then Swift was like, are you serious? And I'm looking at it. I'm like, yo, that move is fresh. And then Swift was shaking his head. He was like, yo, I was like, why, what's wrong? What's up? He was like, yo, there are guys in my crew that were telling me I should stop that stupid shit, and I should get on, like with what's looking much better, and so on and on. So he said, I stopped practicing it. And I was like, no way. And so he realized that there were certain guys in his ex-crew then that didn't really want him to get better or something like that, or that didn't have the right mindset, for the fact that Swift wanted to do something creative and wanted to do something different. So that was the moment where it kind of like clicked. And when Swift realized, that if he would be with us, and we would be more open, then, you know, like there was already this bond where we always wanted to do something different and we had to be creative. And, you know, like we kind of like push people to get out of the box, of course, instead of just doing all the same things, you know, like we really wanted to make sure, you know, like my brother, me, you know, like, and the guys that were practicing with us, we always wanted them to rather be creative and do something different that, you know, like that still fits to the formula of the style. You know, like Kevin and me, like we're always saying, you know, like things have to progress from the foundation, of course. But you know, like, you know, so you have that framework. It has to stay in that framework of breaking. But within that framework, if you develop something, then it's something new. It's appreciated by everybody that loves the art form.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that was basically the moment where, yeah, where we became really good friends, and then we started to do shows together, and we started traveling together, and that was it. That's that's when we became friends. So at first he was in Unique Rockers, and then only 2 years later he formed Battle Squad in Switzerland. I'm not one of the first members, you know. So I joined Battle Squad like 2 months later, I think.
Oh, and then Emilio was in Italy, right?
Yeah, so Emilio came, it was, wow, so Battle Squad was formed. It should have been, I think it was November. Yeah, you know, I'm not really sure about this, but I think it was November or December 1988. I joined Battle Squad at the end of January 89. Emilio or Maurizio joined Battle Squad in, I think it was September 89. And then Emilio joined the crew in very late
Okay.
89 or in 1990, but I think it was late 89.
Okay. I have a question for you too, Storm. There's been a big debate about this move. The one that Emilio does on the side of his hand, and he does like a 360. He looks like an
Right.
aerial. Did he invent that move?
You talk about that spin on that one hand, right?
Yeah, I guess in the United States we called it what do we call it though? The a gremlin. Like Floor Rock from
Hmm.
Las Vegas said that he called it the gremlin because he seen it in the movie The Gremlins back in the 80s.
I can't say, man. As
Okay.
you know, back then there was nobody else that I saw do that move, and he always called it the flag because it looks like a flag in the wind, right? So
Oh,
you spin it
oh, the
around like a flag.
flag.
Yeah,
Okay.
he called it the flag, but I don't know if he's seen it from because he had a good friend from, or he had a friend from New York that he's seen earlier. His name was Andrea. He was an Italian from New York who was breaking, and maybe he's
Mm.
seen it from him. Yo, I have to ask Emilio. I have to ask Emilio.
Is Emilio on Instagram?
No, he's not. He's not. He's like my brother.
Ah,
He's like my brother. He's like Speedy. They don't like social media, man.
ah, it would help. It would help. Okay. So as we fast forward times, I remember I see a VHS and I see Crazy Legs, Mr. Wiggles, and somebody else. And Crazy Legs has a T-shirt with Buck Four on the front,
Hmm?
and you were there.
That
Emilio was
airbrush t-shirt.
there.
Yeah, I remember that.
From what I was told, I guess Mauricio, he was doing some stuff though, and I guess did Crazy Legs recruit Mauricio at that time to get down with
No,
Rocksteady?
that was 3 years earlier.
Oh, 3 years earlier.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah, that was
I
three
didn't
years
know
earlier.
that. Was there a reason why Mauricio like he left Battle Squad to get down with Rocksteady?
Mm. Maurizio and the crew, we had our differences, definitely.
Okay.
I have to say honestly, you know that I never really got along with Maurizio too much. But then still, you know, like I don't I don't really have to get along with you in order to, I don't know, even call it a friendship, you know?
Mm.
Sometimes I don't even have to really like you. and still we could be friends. You know, like I have backs of people that I don't roll with really, and still they know they can count on me on certain things. You know, like if and with Maurizio it was a lot more. What held that connection together was the was that agonistic approach. What held that together was that Maurizio and me, we were always like that, you know?
Oh,
So
okay.
wherever we were, and it was fun. It was fun. But there were moments, of course, you know, it became unbearable. And well, we went to New York. Quick Steps set up a practice, and Crazy Legs showed up. Crazy Legs,
I,
Wiggles, Clown, um,
yeah.
um, Larry from Coney Island, from Furious Rockers was there, and so on.
Hmm.
Papo, who else? Couple of guys from Quick Step's old crew, right? Bandit, I think, was there as well. I'm not sure right now. So, but anyway, so we were practicing a little bit. I was really happy to meet Crazy Legs for the first time. Also to see Wiggles, you know, amazing. I mean, I've seen these guys in the movies, you know, we were following them forever. And, you know, like from all the videos, Crazy Legs is definitely one of our main inspiration when it comes down to breaking, no doubt, with Flash Dance and Wild Style and everything, you know, like that he's
Hmm.
done back in the days. And, you know, they were touring Germany as well with Rocksteady. So, but anyway, you know, and then, yeah, Maurizio just chose to roll with Rocksteady after that. And that was it. Well, it was okay for us, you know. It was like there was no grief or anything. We were just like, all right, if you want to go with Rocksteady, then go with Rocksteady. You know, it's not that, you know, I actually felt a bit of a relief when he left, you know. So it's
Oh,
okay, you know. So it's not like that we were mad that, you know, like, oh, why are you leaving us for them or something? No, he did what he had to do, and it's fine, you know. That's it. What was funny is that almost a year later, he participated at Battle of the Year with Rocksteady Family, or he convinced Second to None and Always Rocking Tough that they should enter together as Rocksteady Family. And then Swift and I, we ended up battling them all together. And I think that kind of like did it a bit more, you know, like where the friendship really, you know, couldn't continue in that way because we beat them, we won the competition. And what can I say? You know, what can I say?
I was gonna talk about that. I seen that footage when it first happened, and I can't believe it. I was like, how is two guys handling like a whole crew by themselves?
Yeah, but that's how you might see it now. I mean, hey, you know, like I think if they would have come to the battle with a different strategy, they would have crushed us big time. Second to None was dope in them days. They were really, really good. They were really good. The problem was rather that they were so unorganized as a crew. That's what I think. You know,
Mm.
so they went out and one round of theirs consisted of 3 or 4 solos at the same time. So Tough Tim Twist would go out, he would do a couple of front rows and a 90. And Swift and me, we would look at each other, we would go like, are they serious? Is this it? You know, but they would think about that themselves. So next person would go
Mm.
out, do something. Then the next person would go out, do something. So first of all, that gave Swift and me enough time to breathe, but also it gave us enough. It gave us enough time to show that we could do all of that, or no, basically not exactly how they did it, but it, you know, like that way we have similar things, different things, but we can all put it in one solo, and we're still gonna be able to crush you, you know. And
Oh,
uh, and that's how it mainly was for me, you know. So at the end of the battle, also it must have been a tough decision, really. Must have been a hard decision.
hmm.
Of course, I mean, but at the same time, if you are just standing there with your partner and there are 8 people, there are 8 people on the other side. There's something going on in you. You pull that switch, and it's on. It's different than when you have the feeling, oh, I've got enough people that back me up. And
Okay.
I think that they took it too easy. They took it too
You think
easy on
so?
themselves. Yeah, I think so. I think so. Like there's like if I look at, there's this guy Fine. His name is Nick. Nick from Bournemouth. If I'm just looking at him and the man, I loved his footwork. He had mad turtles, like his windmill headspin uprise. His headspin, he had dope moves. He was really good. He was really good, and he just didn't have enough chances to come out, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
You know. I don't know. I think that most people know also that, man, there was nobody that inspired me more for my headspins than Tony from Second to None.
Oh, the guy that used to pop,
Pencil.
right? He was the popper?
No.
No?
Tony, they called him the pencil because he was the first guy I've seen that had mad drills. Like his drills, look, it really, when he was spinning, he was looking like an ice skater on his head. So clean, so clean.
Yeah, I know
form,
you're talking
everything.
about.
So there's nobody that inspired me more than him. He really got me to practice. When I saw how he was spinning, I was like, oh shit, that's possible, So, and us battling these guys, it didn't really, like we weren't really comfortable with that. We were happy that we were actually friends. So us battling them, we weren't really comfortable with that. But yeah, well, whatever,
No.
It's like, when the first and then the second guy when they're going out and they give you middle finger or something, that's when you also go like, hey, wait a second. All right, so that's how they think, so that changed a lot. It really changed a lot. But another guy, Asa, if I think about Asa, for instance, Asa was mad. This guy had so much power. He was, that was another guy. I remember when I shook his hand for the first time at CH Fresh in Switzerland. That was already scary. That guy had so much power, man. He was dope. He had like triple halos and stuff.
That's crazy. Was there,
Yeah.
I think I heard you say at one point in time that Crazy Legs asked you to get into Rocksteady and you turned them down?
Yeah, kind of. I didn't really turn it down. See, that's another thing. I try to put things straight here, It's like there's so many rumors running around, It's well, basically at that practice that I was telling you about, Crazy Legs asked us. He asked Swift, Maurizio, and me. He asked if we wanted to be down with Rocksteady. And then I said, look, I only know you for 5 minutes. Maurizio's English wasn't good. Swift's English wasn't good. I was, I spoke school English in them days, was also not very good, but I understood what he wanted from me. And I was just saying, like, listen, if we know you guys, like, if we know Rocksteady a bit better and we know what you guys are about, it's something else. But look, we were working pretty hard for our own name and we thought we had something good going on. It's like giving up a crew name just like that is not really working, especially if I don't know you. And then he said, I think it's even on video, man. I have to ask Quickstep. And then he said, well, because if you're not with us, you're against us. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's when,
Oh, really?
and that's when Maurizio walked over.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mauricio.
Yeah. That's okay, man. It's all right.
That's crazy.
Well,
I never heard that story.
Yeah, it was his choice, and it's like I said, like it's his choice, and it's.
Oh, you Storm. You know what I want to talk about? Okay. I don't know what year it is. You're gonna tell me right now, like when I hit it. Okay, so I'm watching TV. Showtime at the Apollo.
Oh, okay.
Tonight.
At the Apollo. No. You're talking about Def Comedy Jam.
Was it Def Comedy Jam?
Yeah, I wasn't at the Apollo.
Okay, Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
I'm watching everybody dancing. Brothers are out there housing,
Yeah.
and I seen you. You start doing head spin. And I'm looking at the TV, and first thing I thought to myself, like, breaking is dead. Like, nobody's breaking anymore. At that time, nobody was breaking in on the West Coast.
When was that? Was that 94, 95?
That had to be like
95. Early,
I think that was. You remember what year you went out to New York and you did that?
I think it was early 95.
Okay. I know it was a long time ago though, bro. I didn't see no b-boys.
Uh,
But when I seen you spin on your head, I thought to myself, like, damn, this guy is hella good. But I didn't know your name. I didn't know anything. I was just amazed that some white guy showed up in New York on an all-black TV show that was doing power moves. I was like, I thought that was the craziest thing because there was no white people that got on stage.
it was funny enough. I didn't even think about it that way.
Right.
Yeah. No, I was there with Flowmaster and we were having fun. It's funny, Flowmaster knew the show. I didn't even know the show. He knew the show, and
Mm.
I remember the first host or whoever came on stage first said like, "Oh, everybody should take off their jackets." But I had my spinning jacket on. I was Flo was like, "Storm, take off that jacket." I was like, "No, I need it for spinning later on." He was like, "Take off that jacket. They're gonna snap on you."
Oh, really?
And I was like, yeah, and I was just looking at it. I was like, whatever. And then like 2 minutes later, the woman that was on stage was, I don't know, pulling out a joke on me. And Flo was like, "I told you take off that jacket." Yeah, well.
What she said about the jacket?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember. It was just like I don't know, she made fun of me. She made fun of me. She's like, "Yeah, like blah blah whatever, take off the jacket." I'm like, "All right." I took off the jacket and finally, and Flo was like, "I told you take off the jacket." It's like, all right, now I get it. Yeah.
That's crazy though. So I seen that, and then as the years started progressing, like events started coming up, and I got a hold of the tape called B-Boying.
Mm.
I got a messed up copy. I never had the original. So I'm watching it and I'm seeing you guys like wearing do-rags. And once again, I've never seen like people in Germany wearing do-rags because black people wear do-rags for their hair,
I know.
to keep their hair.
Are you telling me now? Yeah, of course. Well, first
So when I
of
seen
all,
that, I was thinking to myself, like, who are these guys? And that was the first thing
yeah,
that, because no, you guys' hair is straight.
madness, madness.
But I
Yeah,
thought it was dope because you guys had your own energy and you were like, you guys were like singing and you guys were playing, you guys were doing like skits. It was like you guys were doing like mini skits.
oh man, I have to watch that tape again. I have to watch it again. But see,
And I didn't understand.
one of the reasons why we were wearing Durex, of course, is like when you were spinning. Back in the days, we didn't have any headspin caps or anything. So
Oh,
if
okay.
if you were spinning, like we always wore like beanies under the Durex, like
Mm.
sometimes two, three, four beanies under the Durex, and then we would tie them like really tight.
Oh.
And then we realized, see, if you were wearing a BVD, you would spin better than, like on a regular cotton T-shirt or something like that. And it was the same thing, of course. If you had a Durag on your head, then you would spin better. So we had a Durag on, we had three beanies under, we tied them, or even a knee pad. Sometimes we would put a knee pad under, and we would look really stupid, with that square and stuff. But especially like if we were doing shows, see, we were practicing headspins with helmets. But if we were doing shows, we did not want to come out in a show wearing or coming out with a helmet. First of all, it kills the anticipation. People be like, if you have a helmet in your hand, then people already know, oh, he's probably going to spin on his head, if you know what I mean. But if you're just
Mm.
coming out and, I don't know, you wear a beanie or something, then it's not going to look like, oh, he can only spin like that because of the helmet, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
And we did not want to look like these cannonball people in the circus. You know, those guys
Oh, yeah.
that they shoot out of a cannon. So for shows, it was a taboo for us to wear a helmet. And we also, I don't know, we tried all kinds of products on our scalp, in our hair, on our beanies, everything. And the worst was, this is so funny. I told that story before. We used pledge. You know, pledge
Yes.
for furniture. Yo, that stuff is hardcore. You know, once I went to my mother-in-law in Paris. You know, my wife is French, so I went to my mother-in-law in Paris, and my wife plays piano. She learned how to play the piano, and in her house is a piano. And then I looked at it, and I was like, "What happened to the piano?" And then my wife told me, "Oh, one day when I was younger, I put pledge on the piano, and then the phone rang, and I forgot." You know, because the whole color, the coating, you know, of the piano, you see how it's messed up. I was like, what did you do? You messed up the whole piano. And then I realized, wow, man, we used to put that stuff on our scalp. We used to put pledge on our scalp, rubbed it in, just so that we could do head spins in our show. And after that, we would continue to party and, you know, all night with that stuff. And no wonder I'm looking, you know? No wonder. No more hair. We tried everything, man, from car wax to silicone spray to anything.
Yes. Yes. That's amazing. So I might have two questions to ask you, and I know these are going to be, like I told everybody when I do the interview, I gotta ask though, bro, because I've been hearing about this for a while. You know, and the first one is, I was told when you came out to New York, you bought up all the mock necks, and
Goodness,
everybody
man.
was mad. Huh?
Goodness. It's a
Everybody
lie.
was up. Everybody was upset with you though, bro. I heard about it on the West Coast. It was like Storm came to New York and bought all the mock necks up in New York.
What a
It's not true?
lie, man. No, hell no. Hell no. I bought more necks for my friends and for myself, of course. But
They say you bought them all.
no, listen, I only bought mock necks as many as I needed to use them. That's what I did.
Okay.
Right? But then there was a shop down in the south in Stuttgart, a hip hop shop that opened up, and it was run
Oh.
by some of the guys from Southside Rockers. You probably
Hmm.
heard that name. So they were from Southside Rockers. They were battling Style Elements at Battle of the Year '97. '97? Yeah, '97. And so Scotty and them guys, they went to New York. They went into this one particular shop. I think it was on Mott Street or something. And they bought all the mock necks and they were selling them there. I had
Oh.
nothing to do with it. But now
Okay.
imagine this, right? This is how I imagine it, right? This is how I imagine it. So now the New York B-boys, they go into that shop and they go like, yeah, I need a new mock neck. And they go like, wait a second, it's empty. What the hell happened? And then the shop owner says, well, there was this German guy here and he bought all the mock necks. What other German guy did they know? You
Yeah.
know? So this is how I imagine it to have happened. But no, it wasn't me. Man, it's just like Nemesis even told me that story again like 2 years ago. Yo, it really wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Okay. That's one of the stories that I was told, that he came to New York and and I heard Fable say it. Fable's like, he brought this brother out to New York and he just cleaned us all out. That's not cool. But
Yo,
now
he
you
could have
put,
called me.
yeah.
Fable could have called me. No, man, I provided Flying Steps with mock neck. I provided Fresh and Attack with mock neck. I provided another
How much
cool.
was a mock neck back
Uh,
then? How much was it? Like $20?
how much? Yeah,
20?
almost. I think
Okay.
you're right. I think off tax it was 17.98, so it must have been like $21 or something.
Okay. So now I finally got the story right. So okay.
Man, but
'Cause-
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how these things, even though it's fake, how these lies are going to live on, and there's nothing one can do. Wow.
I know.
You know
But we got a chance to,
what can I do about
I mean, hopefully this video like can clear it up if somebody ever watch it,
it?
because somebody brought it to my attention today, you know, and I was like, I'm gonna ask him about it. You know, he's a cool guy. He's gonna tell me the truth about, you know, the mock neck, you know, and you just told me the truth, you know. So I'm watching this other VHS. It looked like it's in a dark warehouse, and you're wearing like some red sweats with a yellow T-shirt. and I'm seeing you
Oh, that's
do head spins.
Zulu
Zulu
anniversary
anniversary.
too. Yeah.
I'm seeing you do head spins, like killing the head spins in the hallway, though, bro. In the hallway. And guess who's there watching you? He's a little kid. He's in the corner watching you, though, bro. Guess
You
who's
talking
watching you?
about Flea? Talking
Yeah.
about Flea? Yeah, I know.
How was it? Because it seemed like that anniversary, when I seen you do the coin drop, one way
Yeah.
and then did the coin drop the other way,
Mm.
I didn't understand that. I've never seen that before because I've only seen Chino do it from New York City Breakers one way. So when you did it both ways, I was like, that's got to be an illusion. Because, like, what made you want to think of going both ways?
Hmm. Well, I think it was mostly because of a guy in London, his name was King B.
Mm.
King B used to do backspin pop-ups, really, really nice backspin pop-ups.
Okay.
But when I learned how to do a backspin pop-up, I realized like if I only did it in one direction, or if I just did it the exact same way as he did it, well then, that's his move, in my
Okay.
opinion. And so, well then I think one day I stumbled. One day I stumbled and I just went down the other way and it looked quite nice, but I didn't know how to do the backspin pop-up the other direction yet.
Mm.
But I had an aim. I had an aim, So I was like, all right, so if I do it both ways, it's going to look like, somebody paused the video recorder, rewound it, something like that. So that was the effect that I wanted to create, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the idea behind it. But yeah, again, I mean, it's not really, it's not so innovative to do a move both ways. But I guess, like putting it in sequence, that's what the innovation was about. It's not the innovation of the move itself, but how you put it in sequence. I always actually, like most of my moves, I always wanted to know how to do both ways. That's also how I innovated the pretzel on, if you look at how most people are doing it today, because I was the first one, or at first it was Swift Rock, who wanted to create footwork where one foot is glued to the ground, right? And he wanted to do everything around that foot. And then again, my brother Speedy asked him if he could work on the same motif. And then they were working on it, and then I joined it, and then I started to work on a rudimentary way on how I could combine it with some other stuff. And then I found out that if I did it the other way around, that it would look better, but the other way around wasn't so good yet. So I started practicing this one particular way that everybody calls it pretzel today. This one particular way, I started to work on that over and over and over again, and it created the pattern of a pretzel. From sliding with my sneakers, it created the pattern from my sneakers. It created the pattern on the I was going to say linoleum, but I had an MDF. You know what MDF is, right?
Yeah.
We call it MDF too in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So so you saw that, and from that moment on, we called it a pretzel. And so that's like the basic story. So like that, I only did these because I wanted to do footwork in both ways.
That makes sense. Another move that I think I heard Quickstep said that he passed the move on to you. It's the windmill where you're spinning, but you're on the top of your shoulder. Is that his move or your move?
That's Buck 4.
Really?
Yeah, that's Buck 4, 1984.
You don't know what I'm talking about? You did it in the battle when you battled Rocksteady Family.
Yeah, it's 1984, Buck 4. Trust me on that one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because from what I was told, Quickstep said he taught you that move.
Yo, I mean, no, Buck 4, 84.
Okay.
I have it. I think I even have that on video. So if
you do?
Yeah, I think so. So if anybody would ask for evidence, I think I could show you. I also Kuriaki did that backspin on the side, where he's spinning, like on the back, but It's not, we always called it the snail, which is funny.
Oh, I never heard that before.
Yeah, he did like a backspin where he was turning on the side, like on his elbow, but on the side.
Yeah.
So in Buck 4, he did that shoulder spin, yeah.
Mm. You know what, Storm? I want to share a story with you and like see like if you can give me like some history to this, okay? You don't mind?
Hmm.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It had to be 1996. I'm in Fresno, California, and I'm in a gymnasium, and I'm breaking at the bottom of the floor, and then on top of the floor, there's Pablo
Hmm.
Flores, Charles Montgomery, Marcio, Little Mikey, and Eric, which was they were called Climax Crew. And like, I'm seeing them like, like do like this move. I see Pablo and he does a half a air flare and everybody just stopped. And I was looking at it and I was like, damn, I thought it was just like whatever. Sometime during that night he did one. And when he did one, everybody went crazy in the gym. And then, like, I guess Charles them pumped him up so much where he left the gym doing 1.5. And that was the first time I've ever seen that move from anybody that I've ever seen before. So with that being said, was there anybody that you know of that was doing that too in Germany at that time in the early 90s before him? Or was he the first?
Well, we have to make a distinction, right?
Right.
We have to make a distinction between an air twist, which means that you're just flying in the air once, and an air flare. Because
Okay.
when you look at that air flare, the most important part about that air flare is that you know how to do them continuously. If you
Okay.
don't know how to do it continuously, it's just the air twist because you twist in the air once and that's it. So if
Mm.
you do an air flare, you land on one hand. That's very important about that technique. But once you land on that hand, you have to have the technique and the balance to change over to your second hand and then get that whip out of your hip, right? Which is super important because without that whip out of your hip, you're not going to be able to twist another time, right?
Mm.
So only if you know how to do two of those, right? Standing at a standing angle. Otherwise it would have been flares, right? That's why it's air
Right.
flares. So at that
Okay.
standing angle,
Air
if
flares.
you know how to do two, that's what I would call an air flare. Anything
Oh,
else, anything else is just an air twist. And there were many
okay.
people that did that an air twist
Oh,
before.
oh,
Flare, air twist, windmill, even like but the first guy that I really seen do it clean, just an air twist now, right? Not an air flare. The first guy I've seen do an air twist really clean was Paulo from Rotterdam, from Holland. You probably remember Paulo. He was with O10
he was
boys.
one. He was one of the brothers with the one of the short legs.
Exactly, that's him. That's Paulo. And he had mad windmills and dope flares back in the days already, super fast turtles, and well, I have a video where I know that he's doing it, and that was in November '89. He's doing it.
So, he was doing the air flare or the air
No,
twist.
he did an air twist,
Oh,
but a very clean air
oh,
twist. So he went in from one hand to another. He landed on that hand, but then he went into a windmill. So like I said, if you do not know how to land on that hand, balance over to the second hand and whip that twist, whip that whip them hips. You don't know how to do an air flare, right?
okay.
So
Paulo.
yeah, so I really think that it was, that was way later on when, like not in Europe at that time when that move was invented,
Mm,
the air flare.
okay. Wow, that's amazing from your point of view. I like how you worded that. That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Storm, let me ask you, how do you feel about today's B-boys? You've seen it from the 80s, like myself. We see where it's at today. How do you personally feel about breaking since, like, you've seen it from the evolution from the 80s, 90s, and then, like, 2000 and, like, the late 2000s? Like, do you feel the same energy that you felt like 30 years ago?
Well, from man, I'm 50. I turned 54 this year, you know. So from an energetic point, I definitely miss the clubs. I miss the clubs.
Oh,
I miss the parties. I miss the vibe, you know. I miss the
hmm
vibe. Just dancing to the music all night, and then there's a moment, you know, like when your crew is getting on, and you just wanna throw down. I really miss that. That's something. You know, it's every now and then I still feel that at some after parties when I'm invited for an event, but that happens like maybe twice, maybe up to 5 times a year. Now with COVID, it got even more strange, you know. But usually that's it, you know. And even on those after parties, I'm tired. I want to go home. I want to go to sleep soon. But on a technical level, it's never been where it's at now. It's amazing when I'm thinking about what's happening. And there are so many creative people around the planet that are, man, that are putting their life on the line, you know, inventing new stuff, getting creative. What's sad about it is that somehow with all the videos that are coming out all the time, is you cannot really see the nuances anymore from different neighborhoods, even regions. You know, like if you would have gone to Paris in the mid to late 90s, you would have seen right away, you know, like not really who were the guys that kind of like built it out there, but you would see certain nuances of moves of certain things that people would just do completely different from anybody else in the world. The same thing when you came to Japan. The same thing when you came to, you know, like even in the early 2000s to Korea. You realize what the Koreans were about, what they were working on. You know, I remember when Project Soul came out. They had
oh,
so much of a different flavor and all these new moves that they had. You know, it changed breaking completely. That moment,
hmm
Korea took over. Everybody had their eyes on Korea at that particular moment. So and that kind of like changed with internet. There was also, you know, like I would say like one of the last crews really that had a different flavor and that was more raw and more rough, raw, was was Top Nine. Was Top
top
Nine.
nine.
After
I
after
like
Top
those
Nine,
guys.
yeah, no, super cool dudes, man. After Top Nine, internet came, and now every time when somebody comes up with a new move or somebody comes up with a new concept or anything, you know, there's a YouTube video about it, and it's all over the world, and it's with free delivery all over the world, and everybody can work on it. So it's really hard to trace things back now and to find out who got what from who, and you know, like to trace back these timelines that sometimes were so important to understand where did the concept even start, you know.
hmm
So but I love it. I absolutely love it. And I would say one of the major reasons why I also love judging battles is because I'm sitting in first row. I see everything right there, right in front of me, you know, and it's beautiful. What sucks about judging is that you're sitting on that chair for 6 hours, 7, 8 hours sometimes, and you don't get to dance yourself.
Oh,
With all that
oh
inspiration and
yeah.
everything, you know, man, sometimes, man, I would just love to get up, warm up, and just throw down for an hour or something, you know, because
Yeah.
you're just sitting there. You take everything in. You take everything in, and at the end of the day, you dream about it too. You go to
Mm,
sleep and you still dream. You have all these, you know, like everything is moving.
yeah. Storm, can we do a favor like how we said? We're gonna stop this
Uh,
video and then I'm gonna come back again and we're gonna do part two. So Instagram will basically let this
yeah,
video
cool,
process
cool.
because I know if
I
we
got
go
it.
2 hours long,
Let's
can you give me
do it.
maybe about Give me maybe about 3 minutes.
All right, cool. Gonna make myself another tea.
Okay. Thank
In a
you.
minute.
So everybody is watching. We're about to go into part 2. Don't go anywhere. Mikey-Ice TV, B-Boy Storm.